All right. Oh, come on, you son. All right, let me turn this down a little bit. I could not believe this when I first heard it this morning. But I've looked on, looks like tons and tons of news sources. It seems like TMZ first reported this earlier this morning, and the screen that you see above me is live video from I'm getting it from WFLA News Channel 8, and they are live there at the crash scene, and that appears to be the helicopter right there. You can see it still smoldering, but it seems to be that Kobe Bryant was killed this morning in a helicopter crash. I heard earlier reports it was his private helicopter. This was his own thing. I don't believe he was flying it, but I haven't really heard any reports on that. I guess maybe that's possible, but I haven't heard anybody say that. I'm hearing now ABC says 3 of his daughters were on board. I heard there were at least 5 people on board with Kobe Bryant. Reports are that his wife was not one of them. Apparently, Vanessa was not on board with them at the time of the crash, but there seems to be some reports coming in that say some family members of his, possibly his daughters, were on the helicopter with him. What you're looking at kind of over my shoulder is live video that we're getting from a news station. I'm getting this from the live feed of WFLA News, Channel 8. It has been reported, it seems to be confirmed by multiple outlets now, that indeed Kobe Bryant was killed in this helicopter crash. Just almost, it's just unbelievable. I got the call from a friend, I guess probably 30 minutes ago, and when you think of somebody as iconic, somebody who stands out as much as Kobe Bryant does, you almost think of them as invincible. And when things like this happens, it just kind of it just kind of shocks everybody. The whole world is kind of in shock right now because Kobe Bryant, obviously, an iconic figure throughout the entire world. I mean, it wasn't just, L.A., where he was obviously a massive superstar. He was just pretty much the king of L.A. He was obviously a huge icon in America, but also all over the world. Obviously, Kobe Bryant, as far as iconic status, was right up there with your Michael Jordans, your Magic Johnsons, people that are just known all around the world for being an athlete. I'm seeing some comments here on the live stream. Yes, this is real. Multiple outlets now reporting that it was Kobe Bryant and maybe 5 others on this helicopter. And so, yeah. So I'm reading in the comments, people losing their minds. Yeah, like I just said, it's tough when it's strange when we see somebody this iconic pass away, I guess, in a manner like this, because it's just so unexpected. It really is. So you're looking at live video right now that you can see over my shoulder. That is the crash site. You see there, it looks like we've got 2 people on the scene there. Whatever's left of that helicopter is still smoldering, and it looks like we may have lost that feed there. So, see what we can do about getting another one back. Do we still have that on this screen? I'm not sure. No, that's gone. Okay, so I will see what we can do about getting that live stream back from. Is that back now? Looks like, is it back? Okay. Looks like that may be back. It is up for us now. So this is, again, live video from the crash scene. That is said to be Kobe Bryant's helicopter, his personal helicopter that is smoldering right there. And it has been confirmed Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash this morning. TMZ reported earlier, said there were 5 people on the helicopter. A couple of reports that I'm seeing just from folks on Facebook, but it seems like a lot of other folks confirming this. ABC saying his daughters were on board as well. That's just probably the most terrible part of this whole thing. You know, Kobe Bryant is definitely a guy who lived a full life, and I'm sure if you would have asked him this morning, you know, if he were to pass today, would he have accomplished everything he wanted to? I'm sure he was probably pretty close, but, you know, if just tough to hear if his kids were on board. That's just the worst possible news you could probably get out of this. And also, you know, how terrible does his wife feel at this point if their children were on board, if he was on board? I just can't imagine being in her shoes with just having to experience so many people that you love just being lost like this. Again, it has been confirmed now by multiple outlets. I've seen multiple reports on this. I didn't want to go live really until this was really confirmed, but a lot of news outlets confirming that this is indeed Kobe Bryant that was killed in a helicopter crash earlier today. You're seeing live pictures of what appears to be, what I can only see looks like the tail end of a helicopter, if you guys can't see it that well on your screen, but it is still smoldering. And just terrible, terrible news to have to hear on a Sunday. And there's just nothing you can say to make the situation seem any better. If you're somebody who's just joining me for the first time, you know, I do a ton of local news in my area, and it's just, you know, you just have to, when you're on camera or TV or whatever it is, you know, you just have to kind of keep your mouth moving and keep people informed on what's going on. But this is just a situation where it's hard to come up with words for what is happening now. Again, it seems like reports have been confirmed that Kobe Bryant was on board. At least 4 others on board, and I'm hearing reports, a lot of people saying that ABC is reporting that his daughters were on board with him as they took this flight, which is just really, really horrible to hear. And that's just the last thing you want to hear, is that, you know, he had more family, especially his young kids, on board the helicopter with him. So I believe this is confirmed. Somebody's saying in the comments, not his daughters. A lot of people saying ABC. But ABC saying 3 of his 4. But I don't know. It was funny. I watched just this morning. It was a pretty strange headline, I thought. But it was Kobe Bryant. It was LeBron James kind of reflecting on Kobe Bryant after beating one of his records, I guess last night or the night before he did that. But you know, when I first typed Kobe Bryant into the search bar and it came up, and I don't know, it's not even important. Not even important to talk about that. Let's see who we got in the comments. Everyone will die and go back to heaven. Don't worry about Kobe. Okay, yeah, got you there, Noah. You know, this is just one of those things that Kobe Bryant is a household name. Pretty much every single person in America knows of Kobe Bryant. So, you know, it's something that affects a lot of people. Kobe Bryant, when I was in middle school, you know, Kobe Bryant was my guy. Bryant was the guy that I wanted to be, the guy that was just out of high school playing basketball. I was just starting to get into basketball at the time. Unfortunately, I never grew much after middle school, so my dreams of playing basketball were shattered pretty quickly. But Kobe was a guy that I always enjoyed watching play, that I enjoyed following, not only through the NBA but also, you know, through his career. Was getting into a lot after basketball too. So it is definitely a tough thing for a lot of people to get the news of today. Kobe Bryant passing away with possibly some of his children on board. That's what a lot of people are saying in a lot of the comments, citing ABC for that. But I did not see that necessarily from ABC. I'm just seeing it from people in the comments section that they are reporting. But you know how that goes. Can't always trust the people in the comments section. You are seeing live video right now from the scene of the helicopter crash. You can see the helicopter in the mountains there. A lot of people gathered around to just kind of bear witness to what's happening. The helicopter does still appear to be burning somewhat. Fire crews appear to be on the scene. There is, looks like some hazard tape around the area. So, wow, just unbelievable news that we're hearing this morning, and just tough to process. People like this, they seem to be on top of the world, and you always think, hey, these massive celebrities, man, we almost look at them as transcending like mere human status, but things like this remind us that life is fragile, and don't ever take it for granted, because you could have all the money, success, and fame in the world, and unfortunately something like this happens, and there's a lot of people that are very, very upset. I'm seeing comments, my husband is crying, my family's crying, this is terrible. This was, a person that a lot of folks looked up to, just, for whatever reason, for how successful he was, for how gifted he was, for how talented he was, maybe for, maybe some people loved him for his attitude, maybe others didn't, but no matter what, you knew who Kobe Bryant was, and he was definitely somebody that I know pretty much everybody watching, I will guarantee everybody watching, has had a discussion about Kobe Bryant before. Just, again, one of these people that you don't ever expect something like this to happen to, but just kind of at a loss for words. It's hard to describe what's going on. The facts of this are that apparently Kobe Bryant took off this morning with at least 4 other people on his private helicopter, and it seems like everybody on board was killed. I'm just trying to hear some of the volume on the news reports that are coming in on my screens here. So, again, Kobe Bryant was on board this helicopter. You can see the live pictures there. The helicopter still smoking. I don't know. It looks like really only the tail end or little pieces of this helicopter are left. I can see kind of, off to the right side of that screen. I don't know if you guys can make it out. It might be kind of small from where you're watching, but it looks like just pieces of the helicopter scattered all over the place. Just kind of unbelievable. Just something that you don't expect at all, to hear the news that somebody so prominent, somebody so iconic, somebody so loved around the world globally by so many people passed away in something like a helicopter crash. So, I couldn't believe it. I spent quite a bit of time looking around the internet to try and confirm this, and it does seem now that many, many sources are confirming this. A lot of news outlets, pretty much every news outlet, is talking about this story. So, it is confirmed now that Kobe Bryant was on board the helicopter. You can see the helicopter in the picture up there in the corner. That's or what's left of it, at least. And just just an outpouring of, emotions and tears and things like that from, people that are popping up in live videos all over social media, people that are expressing their feelings in comment sections and things like that. And just, this is something that's tough for a whole lot of people. It really is. It's, like it or not, it may be no big deal to some people who, just have different feelings than others. But for a lot of people, this is somebody that that people felt a connection with because of the fact that he was such a prominent guy. He did a lot of great work for folks. I'm sure there are folks that have only had one or two interactions with Kobe Bryant, and that's something they'll remember for their entire lives. Maybe he did something generous for them, and they'll never forget Kobe Bryant as that guy who helped their family, and a guy that they're forever connected to. And I'm sure he made lots of those impacts with lots of people that only met him once. When we meet folks like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, that's a story that we have forever, and that helps paint a picture of who these people are in our minds, at least. And so, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have had interactions across the world with Kobe Bryant, and I'm sure pretty much everybody who has had a positive interaction with Kobe Bryant is feeling pretty down right now, as we still see this plane smoldering. You can see this from pictures coming out of L.A., and that feed, at least on my end, is courtesy of WFLA News, Channel 8. But it looks like they're about to interview somebody on the scene out there. But again, this, let me make this live screen. Let me make this a little bit bigger here so you guys can get a better picture. You don't need to necessarily see me. But this is, again, the crash site, the plane crash. You can see the helicopter smoldering right there. You can see debris off to the kind of upper right of the screen. I don't know if maybe the helicopter came from that direction and kind of fell apart on impact as it came from that way. The cameras now look like they're trying to search for, now they're just pointed at grass. That's great. I hope the camera operator realizes soon that he needs to point the camera back at the helicopter crash. But again, it is true, it is confirmed that Kobe Bryant passed away earlier today in a helicopter crash that the cameraman has decided to pan away from, or maybe just accidentally bumped his camera. There you go, pal. Great job. That is, you can see what looks to be the tail end of what is left of the helicopter. Still smoldering, still flames that crews are kind of trying to keep under control. There are a few guys kind of scattered around. You'll see their heads pop up out of the brush from time to time, and they're just trying to kind of control the scene. If you can't tell right now, if you can't see it, you should be able to see it. There is kind of some red emergency taping off some of the scene. You may see it if the camera pans back out, that there is a large crowd gathered around with phones, watching to see what's happening. Some folks are crying. Just a hard time for a lot of people. Something you just don't ever expect from somebody as well known as Kobe Bryant. Just an absolute legend in his sport, and just unbelievable to a whole lot of people here today, including myself. It was, I went and made sure and checked and, confirmed the story to make sure it was real, to make sure it was, in fact, Kobe Bryant. And it looks like a lot of outlets now reporting that it is, in fact, Kobe Bryant on board this helicopter that you see smoldering right now from the live pictures coming out of L.A. I think a lot of people were checking Kobe Bryant's Twitter, trying to make sure, hey, is this fake? Is this real? What's going on here? And obviously there's been no information there. But Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all these platforms right now just going crazy with the news of Kobe Bryant. It is the number one trending and I'm seeing now, please stop spreading news unless you can confirm it. Some people were saying that Rick Fox was involved in this crash. It does not look like Rick Fox was involved in this crash. Let's see. We've got Jared Greenberg, who is an NBA TV reporter, who is saying he personally communicated with Rick Fox via text since the news about Kobe dying came out. Please stop spreading quote-unquote news unless you have the answers. So that's what is coming out right now. Rick Fox apparently was not on board. Looks like Jared Greenberg from NBA TV did confirm that he was not on board. Rick Fox and his family not on board this crash, although people are kind of spreading those rumors a little bit. It's not true. Rick Fox not also on there, although he is trending number 2. Rick Fox, R.I.P. Rick Fox, is kind of trending number 2. Rick Fox apparently has not passed away. Let me check the Twitter of Rick Fox right now and see. They're not. Well, let's see. 15 hours ago was his last tweet, but again, we just saw from the Twitter of an NBA TV reporter that he has spoken to Rick Fox since the accident and that Rick Fox was not aboard the helicopter. So that's something that can be cleared up for folks if you were thinking Rick Fox was on board. It looks like there were saying that, here's a clipping that somebody shared on Twitter. It says Bryant was traveling with at least 3 others, and authorities said 5 people are confirmed dead. Bryant's wife, Vanessa, was not among the passengers. Then there's an update to this. It said, update. Various media reports indicate that other people in the helicopter included former Laker-turned-actor Rick Fox and several of Bryant's daughters. This is apparently not true. Again, we saw from a sports reporter. I'm seeing from multiple sports reporters here with blue checks that they are saying, I've had confirmation from multiple colleagues that Rick Fox was not on the helicopter. I don't know how the rumors got started, but I'm just glad people are telling me he is safe. So again, it does appear that Kobe Bryant has been killed this morning in a helicopter crash. You can see live pictures here of what's happening right now. This is live video of the crash site. The plane still appears to be smoldering, the helicopter rather. Looks like only a section of the tail end of this helicopter is left intact. Just debris scattered from the helicopter throughout the field of view that we have here from this camera on the scene. And, this is just tough news for a lot of people to process today, something that a lot of us, I'm sure, did not believe whatsoever until we saw more and more of this news coming out. It does look like Kobe Bryant was aboard a helicopter that crashed with at least 3 other friends and the pilot. Up to 5 others, according to reports, were killed in this crash. Some say that ABC is reporting that some of his daughters may have been with him in the crash. I don't want to turn to Twitter for too many answers because Twitter can get it wrong. As is the case with Rick Fox. A lot of people on Twitter saying Rick Fox was on the plane with him. Apparently, Rick Fox was not on the plane. That's been confirmed by multiple blue check sports reporters that they have spoken to Rick Fox. But Kobe's kids may have been on board during this. So I am watching updates. I'm going to, keep you guys updated here. We're going to keep bringing you the live pictures from the scene, from helicopters and camera crews on the scene who are bringing these pictures to us. And that is courtesy of WFLA Channel 8 in Florida, that I'm getting these pictures and that I'm able to share these with you. You can see there what appears to be only the tail end of this helicopter remaining. Just tough things to look at. The more you look around that screen, you can see debris really scattered throughout the entire picture there as the helicopter really just looks like it pretty much exploded on impact. Early reports verified that there were no survivors from this. And folks are looking for the information now. I'm just going to do a quick scan here and see if I can get any more information for you on who might have been on board with him, because there were up to 4 others on board with him. And so I will try to see. Man, it's pretty scary and pretty sad when Wikipedia is already updated. Kobe Bean Bryant, August 23rd, 1978 through January 26, 2020. Already up on Wikipedia. Let's see. We've got a report here from ESPN.com that I will read along with you guys. This is from 2:58, just about an hour ago. Let's see if we can find out. Well, I guess this was probably... let me see if I can find a more recent... Here we go. This was it's less than an hour ago. NBA legend Kobe Bryant was among 5 people killed in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California on Sunday. A source confirmed to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. No, that's always a tough one to say. Bryant was 41. According to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, there were no survivors of the crash. The investigation is ongoing. The crash comes one day after Bryant was passed by Los Angeles Lakers forward LeBron James for 3rd place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. As late as 10:39 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, Bryant was active on social media, congratulating James on Twitter during the Lakers' 108-91 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. James inscribed his sneakers with Mamba for life in gold marker before the game, and some other things, I guess, too. But I am looking for more information on who else may have been on board with Kobe. We are hearing a bunch of reports said that Kobe Bryant's wife was not on board. Some reports saying that his children were on board. I think the details are pretty unclear right now as to who was there, but it does say that there were 5 people total killed. Kobe Bryant was among those people, and you can see the live pictures right there of the helicopter crash. That is a live video from the scene. And you can see that that helicopter is still on fire. So this was just a devastating crash. Just a horrible accident on what was apparently Kobe Bryant's private helicopter. Four more people on board. Outlets are working to confirm exactly who was on board with Kobe Bryant. A lot of people reporting that news outlets are saying his daughters may have been on board. I'm seeing in the comments here, kid, not kids, just one of the daughters. So it may be just one of the daughters. I was hearing reports of 4 daughters. Then I was hearing reports of 3 of 4 daughters. Now I'm seeing on comments here on Facebook that it may have just been one of his daughters. Either way, just absolutely horrible, especially if his children were involved. That's just the worst case scenario, to have your children involved with something like this. So we're watching live pictures right now of coverage of the crash site where Kobe Bryant's helicopter did go down today. I'm looking to find you guys some up-to-the-minute news to see if we can confirm who, in fact, was on the plane with Kobe. 5 people were killed. So it seems like really the only true confirmation that anybody's really putting out there is that Kobe Bryant's wife was not on board. I agree, Taurus. It's sad, man. None of us knew the guy, but obviously we all knew who he was. A lot of us, myself included, he was just getting into the NBA when I was just about to be in high school. So, he kind of becomes the guy you're trying to be. Man, I hope I can be good enough at basketball to get drafted to the NBA out of high school. So he's kind of somebody that we all idolized back when I was growing up. Everybody wanted to be Kobe Bryant. Everybody had Kobe Bryant jerseys. Everybody had Kobe Bryant jerseys. Most of us had Kobe Bryant jerseys in every color that was available. So it is a really sad day for a lot of people. And it looks like I'm seeing some report here from TMZ. Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas Sunday morning. TMZ Sports has confirmed Kobe was traveling with at least 3 other people in his private helicopter when it went down. A fire broke out. Emergency personnel responded, but nobody on board survived. 5 people are confirmed dead. TMZ is told Vanessa was not among those on board. It does say an update from 12:35 p.m. In my time, that would be, I think, 3:35 p.m., saying that Kobe's daughter, Gianna, was on board and did die in the helicopter crash. That's what reps for Kobe Bryant told TMZ Sports. She was just 13. Man, that's tough to read. That's tough to hear. That's even more terrible, than Kobe Bryant. And there's people around the world crying now for the death of Kobe Bryant. But even harder to hear than that is his daughter, his 13-year-old daughter, passing away with him in the helicopter crash. So again, we do have live pictures here, courtesy of WFLA News, Channel 8. Kobe had the greatest shoes. I'm going to tell you what, Lost One 420, you're a little lost on that one. Kobe Bryant's shoes definitely look like, just an ice cooler. I was never a fan of Kobe Bryant's shoes. But we're working on getting all the information out. Just kind of reading what's out there. Yes, it is confirmed that at least one of his daughters was on board. Possibly two other people that were with Kobe Bryant or friends with Kobe Bryant. Rick Fox was not one of those that was on board. He was not one of those who was on board, Rick Fox. We don't know. There were also reports of some of Rick Fox's daughters being on the plane. Don't know if that's true. I haven't seen that one debunked yet necessarily, but I haven't seen it proven either. We do know that 5 people total were killed in this helicopter crash, and the Kobe Bryant was among them. So again, this is live video of the crash site. You were looking at what's left of Kobe Bryant's personal helicopter. It is confirmed that at least one of his children was on board. Bourbon, I will say that, TMZ pretty much has been the source that all the other news outlets are getting their information from. TMZ is pretty good these days about getting on breaking news. And it seems like a lot of the outlets are actually taking their cues from TMZ's coverage of this morning. TMZ, I believe, was the first outlet to report the news on Kobe Bryant and his helicopter going down. And they did just confirm about 20 minutes ago, or they say they confirmed with Kobe Bryant's representatives that Kobe's 13-year-old daughter was on board. Waiting to hear, I guess, who the other 3 people involved were. We hope it wasn't the rest of Kobe Bryant's daughters, obviously, at this point. But there really hasn't been confirmation or denial as far as that aspect of it's concerned. We do know that at least one of his daughters was on board. We're getting live footage right now of a guy who is about to talk to news crews. So we'll see if we can get up the microphone up to the screen so that we can kind of bring you his commentary live, see what information this guy has to give you. He's a British guy, so who the hell knows how much he knows about American sports. If he starts talking about Kobe Bryant, the cricket player, I will cut him off. But this is video from the scene. You can see over his right shoulder still the smoldering helicopter there in the background, said to be Kobe Bryant's personal helicopter.
Evelyn, you're director of another of the girls' teams, right?
Let me see if I can get you a better picture here. There you go. You can see right there in the upper left corner, there is still smoke coming from the helicopter crash. And now we're getting aerial views, and you can just see the large field of debris there. That is what appears to be all debris from the helicopter crash, and you can see kind of at the end of that big scattering of debris, there is still smoke smoldering, and it really looks like only the tail section of this helicopter survived intact in any way. Just a ton of debris scattered all over the place. I think we see a rotor over here in the trees to the left of your screen. It's just hard to tell what is what in the remainder of what's left here in this pile. These images, as you can see, coming out of KABC. And this is a live look over the helicopter crash involving Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 3 other people. 5 people total killed in this crash. One of them we know now, according to TMZ, was his 13-year-old daughter. His wife was not on board the helicopter at this time. Nobody has confirmed yet whether the rest of his daughters were on board or whether they were not. If they were not, we would have to assume that these were other friends of Kobe Bryant's who were killed in this, or possibly friends of his daughter. There were reports that Rick Fox's daughters were on this helicopter and that Rick Fox was on this helicopter at all. That does not appear to be the case. Multiple blue check sports reporters have said that they've talked to Rick Fox and he was not aboard the helicopter. Although that is trending number 2 on Twitter the last time I checked, about 5 minutes ago. But Rick Fox not involved in this. Not 100% sure if any of Rick Fox's children were involved in this or not. There are 3 other people aboard this helicopter that are kind of unaccounted for at this point. I guess we would assume one of those would be the pilot. I don't know if Kobe Bryant... I don't know enough about Kobe Bryant to know if he flew helicopters, if he had a pilot's license, if this was his personal machine that he was piloting. If not, I would assume one of the others dead. Well, I would, you'd know one of the others dead was the pilot, so there would be at least 2 other passengers on board that we have not heard who they are yet. 2 of the 5 have been confirmed to be Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter. And you can see from the live pictures here of the crash scene. This is live right now as it's happening. And there are just a couple of emergency workers present, I assume, to try and keep some of the smoldering rubble from getting any worse, from catching any of the area on fire. Because whatever is left of that helicopter is still burning, as you can see, smoke just billowing off this thing, and has been since I started getting these pictures out of WFLA and KABC for almost an hour now. I've been live about 45 minutes, and it has been that smoke has been constantly going. Now you can see this appears to be way out in the mountains here where the crash site happened. There is a crowd of folks not around the crash site, but at the bottom of these mountains who have gathered to look, see what's going on, take pictures. Saw a few people crying out there earlier, heard a few people crying out there earlier. Just really devastating stuff, really unexpected news coming out of, I believe TMZ was the first one to break this. coming out of LA today. Just one daughter confirmed. Yeah, at the point, I'm just looking at some of the comments. At this point, only one of his daughters is confirmed to be on the plane. But just news that nobody expected to hear. I'm sure a lot of you got the news like I did in a text from a friend. You didn't believe it. We had to go online, and the first thing I did was refresh my Facebook feed, assuming that if this was a real story, it would be at the top of the feed, and unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. WFLA was the first news source I saw reporting that Kobe Bryant had died in the crash. Apparently, TMZ was the first to report this, that Kobe Bryant was on board this helicopter as it went down. Later, it was confirmed, again by TMZ, that his 13-year-old daughter was on board. We have not heard news on who the others on board were. Some outlets early were reporting that all four of his daughters were on board the helicopter with him. It's only been confirmed, at least reported, that his 13-year-old daughter, Gigi, was on board with him. You can see they are very close to town, and we're looking now here at people who are gathering on the streets. News reporters. Looks like we have some police vehicles there as well. News vans all over the place, as this is probably one of the best vantage points from town to see what's going on if you're out there in that LA area. But crowds and crowds of people gathering to basically now just watch a smoldering helicopter. The helicopter did contain Kobe Bryant and at least one of his daughters as they took off this morning. You can see they are not too far from town. They took off from Calabasas. I'm not sure exactly if that's Calabasas or folks from LA down there. But as the helicopter pans back into the mountains, you will see the still smoldering wreckage and debris just scattered all over the area from where this helicopter really just looks like it really just exploded upon impact, which I guess is what you would imagine. You know, the scary thing about helicopter, and I know it's kind of a trendy thing out there in LA now to fly your own helicopters. I always hear Bill Burr talking about, flying his own helicopters. But, man, if something goes wrong in a helicopter, there's no backups. There's no, you can't even jump out. You can't even parachute out. You'll fly right into the rotors. Man, it's I don't know what the allure of having your own personal helicopter is. I guess when you can do it, you can do it. And you assume if you spend the money that I'm sure Kobe Bryant spent on the helicopter that, you're not going to have problems with it. But, man, if a problem in a helicopter, something goes wrong in a helicopter, there are not many options to safely land. Kobe Bryant been taking helicopters since his first few years in L.A. When I lived up north, they used to have a lot of sightseeing helicopters and things like that. And after a couple accidents with those things, just in the couple years that I was living up there, I thought, helicopters may not be the best mode of transportation. I don't know. But, hey, a lot of people want to beat that L.A. traffic. So I'm sure for a lot of folks out there, it is actually a pretty practical solution, pretty practical way to get around. But you just got to think, not very much to do in case of an emergency on a helicopter. So right now we're looking at live pictures out here being brought to you by KABC in LA of the helicopter crash. You can see what may be a rotor out there in the trees. Large chunks of debris scattered all over this area that we're getting pictures of. And a still smoldering pile of wreckage there. As it is true, it is confirmed, Kobe Bryant was on board the helicopter, as was at least one of his daughters. His 13-year-old, Gigi, was on board with him. Still looking to confirm the identities of the other 3 people on board. Just news that you don't expect, news that you don't think is real when you first hear it. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, I got a text about an hour and a half ago telling me what was going on, maybe an hour ago. And, just kind of took to the internet to see if it was true, and multiple news sources reporting it. It's pretty much completely confirmed. I mean, it is completely confirmed at this point that Kobe Bryant was on the helicopter. Rumors earlier were that Rick Fox and his family may have been on the helicopter as well. It turns out those were not true. Sports reporters have spoken to Rick Fox since the news of the helicopter crash, and Rick Fox is fine. He was not aboard the helicopter. Have not heard any reports from credible sources that any of Rick Fox's family was on the helicopter. From what we hear, ABC and CBS early on were reporting that Kobe Bryant and all of his daughters were on board this helicopter, but it appears that only confirmed right now one of his daughters, his 13-year-old, was on board the helicopter with him. Again, those are live pictures from what I would assume is a news chopper out there, KABC, bringing you those pictures. And that is the scene where Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down this morning. We know that at least Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter were on board. Reports earlier that was his entire family was on board. That doesn't appear to be the case. Well, I guess at least that's not confirmed yet, that the rest of his daughters were in fact on board. But his 13-year-old, it is confirmed that she was on board. That was confirmed by TMZ. They said they spoke to folks close to Kobe Bryant who did inform them that, yes, his 13-year-old daughter was on board. Probably just the saddest part of this whole thing, that any of his kids were involved, is pretty terrible, pretty sad to hear. Pretty much the worst part of all of this. You can see kind of a large field of debris there and a smoldering plane or smoldering remains of a helicopter there. Just debris scattered all over the place in large chunks everywhere. The only thing I can really see remaining is close to the right side of your screen. Looks like that may be, the tail end, the very, very back part of the helicopter. It looks like closer to where the wreckage is smoldering. It looks like that may be the midsection, the tail area, just behind the cockpit. I'm not a helicopterologist, so I don't necessarily know how to describe the parts of the helicopter, but hopefully I've got people out there just as dumb as me watching, and these explanations fit them perfectly. But this is the crash site right here. I've had a couple of different videos coming in, live pictures coming in over the last hour from KABC and WFLA News, Channel 8. And just a hard thing for a lot of people to hear, as we've kind of been saying over the last hour. Kobe Bryant, just such a massive global icon, somebody that's looked up to by millions and millions of people. And just impossible to believe that somebody like that could be involved in a helicopter crash and lose their life. And unfortunately, at least one of his daughters was with him, his 13-year-old. And it looks like they are still working to identify some of the others on board. I'm told that Yahoo News has some reports out now, so I am going to look there and see if I can get anything more breaking for you guys. See if there's any more recent information. Kobe Bryant killed in California helicopter crash. The crash was called in around 9:47 a.m. today, local time out there in Los Angeles. It says the helicopter was a Sikorsky S-76. Circumstances still appear to be unknown as to why the crash happened. Yeah, so it seems like all we've got now confirmed is that Kobe Bryant was on board and that at least one of his daughters, his 13-year-old daughter, was also on board. Live videos coming out of KABC right now of the helicopter crash. You can see what they're zooming in on right now appears to be the very tail end of the plane. And they're just scanning kind of across all of the debris from the wreckage. Just obviously no survivors of this crash. All 5 people on the helicopter are confirmed dead, including Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter. Just a tough thing for a lot of people to process right now across the country and across the world. They're just kind of zooming in right now and showing you the wide range of the debris. It looks like that's a propeller over there. Maybe a few blocks little more than that away from the actual crash site. Just debris scattered over what looks like it could possibly be a mile of terrain out there in those hills. And some of the wreckage still smoldering there, as you can see. Smoke still coming out of, you can't say the remainder of this helicopter. There's just really nothing left. Not sure exactly what is still causing the smoke there. But something is still burning and has been since the crash. It is confirmed that Kobe Bryant was on board, and right now it is confirmed that his daughter was involved in the crash as well. There were no survivors. It says now that sources told ESPN that the helicopter was headed to a travel basketball game for Gianna's 13-year-old daughter, and that the other passengers were another player and their parent. Looks like it's saying Natalia, Bianca, and Capri are still alive at this point. So it looks like what we can tell you now, the absolute latest information, this coming from Yahoo News about 12 minutes ago, was that Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, Gigi, was confirmed killed in this accident. Emergency personnel responded. Nobody on board survived. 5 people are confirmed dead. Sources told ESPN that the helicopter was headed to a travel basketball game for Gianna, his 13-year-old. And the other passengers on board were another player on the team and their parent. And that Kobe Bryant's other children must have, I guess, still been at the house, or, they were not on the helicopter. One of Kobe Bryant's children, his 13-year-old, Gianna, was on the helicopter with him. The other people on board, looks like it says, were other players on Gianna's basketball team and parents, or at least one parent of another child that was on the plane. So it looks like at least 2 children were killed in this. Kobe Bryant among the parents killed in this crash. And just kind of unbelievable, just kind of surreal to say, just something that when you say Kobe Bryant killed in a plane crash, it's almost something you don't believe when it comes out of your mouth. But it has been confirmed by multiple news outlets, and I am trying to follow the very latest for you just to keep, this very small crowd here that I have watching, 178 folks, just keep you guys entertained, because not entertained, but just informed. But again, his wife was not on board. His daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri, were also not on board the helicopter. It was his private helicopter. Kobe Bryant was on board. His 13-year-old daughter was on board. And at least one of his daughter's basketball teammates was on board, and at least one parent also on board. And it looks like the helicopter pilot would account for that 5th casualty in this helicopter crash. So the information that is coming out now looks like we are close to finding out exactly who was on board. I would imagine we will not know the cause of the crash for a while. But what can be said now is that Kobe Bryant and his daughter, his 13-year-old, were on board, confirmed. Also, another young person who was also on Kobe Bryant's daughter's basketball team, which is where they were flying out to go. They were flying out to go play a basketball game. A teammate of hers on that team and also a parent of that teammate were on board. They were killed, and the pilot killed as well in this crash in the mountains in California. Spokespeople for L.A. County Sheriff's Office said LAPD didn't immediately respond to request for comment, but information is coming out. Again, these are live videos coming to you from the scene. You can see still the helicopter, still, or what's left of it, still burning. Still some smoke coming up there from the wreckage. And if you just see the chunks and chunks of debris and really everything that is not left of the helicopter scattered over what looks to be almost a mile of total terrain there in the mountains, it's pretty obvious that nobody could have survived this crash. Just absolutely devastating. Just really sad, really tough for a lot of people to hear. You know, Kobe was a guy that I grew up watching play, a guy that I idolized. You know, going into high school, I remember what classroom I was in when somebody first told me about Kobe Bryant getting drafted straight out of high school. And so tough information for a lot of people to process. Seeing a comment here, Viva Tom, there were not any survivors, Tom. No, it was Kobe Bryant, his daughter, a teammate of his daughter's on her basketball team, and a parent of that teammate, and also the pilot. They all died in the crash. As you can see, there's really nothing left of the actual helicopter. You're looking at live pictures of the helicopter crash right now. They were heading out to his 13-year-old's basketball game. They had a teammate and that teammate's parent on board the helicopter. And the pilot also on board that helicopter. All set out, looking to have a good time, and unfortunately this happens and really catches the entire world off guard. One of his daughters was in there. His 13-year-old daughter, reading the comments now, was there. They were heading to her basketball game. A teammate of hers and that teammate's parent was also in the helicopter, as well as the pilot. All died apparently on impact. As you can see while they zoom in there, just Not much left of this aircraft. A few scattered pieces here and there that you can kind of make out what you think they used to be. There are propellers scattered across the what looks like it could be a mile's worth of territory. Altogether, that there is debris scattered across the place. Anthony, that is what appears to be a dirt road by the crash site. So it looks like there are at least some bike trails out there. I don't see any emergency vehicles. There is some emergency personnel that you'll see from time to time walk into the camera. So I'm not sure if that's a bike trail type of road or if cars can actually drive down there. It's hard to get a perspective, but it doesn't seem like that's a driving path. If I'm looking at the perspective with the guy there that you can see standing in the middle of the road, I don't think you could necessarily get a car down that path or that you're supposed to. QB, unfortunately, this is real and confirmed. Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, a teammate of hers, and that teammate's parents confirmed dead along with the pilot of the helicopter. Folks are saying that witnesses on the scene did say that the engine just kind of cut out in the helicopter. And Juliana, it looks like they've zoomed in a few times a little bit closer, but there's really nothing that you can even make out down there. It's just all debris. You can see what appears to be the rotor and a couple of blades still hanging attached in the trees. Looks like there's another propeller further up on the mountain, but wreckage from the helicopter just taking up a very large area of the mountains here. That's a good question on helicopters have black boxes. I know this was Kobe Bryant's personal helicopter, so I don't know if your personal helicopters, you probably have the option not to have the black box, if there's even that sort of option. I'm not in that tax bracket to even know what the options are on a helicopter. But I imagine that's what they're going to be trying to figure out next, is how this happened. Again, one of Kobe Bryant's daughters was on board. His 13-year-old daughter, Gigi. His other 3 daughters are said to have not been in the crash and are fine at this point. I'm not sure if the bodies are still on scene, Juliana. Just reading the YouTube comments here. But even at the points where it zoomed in closer, I didn't see any bodies. I believe that emergency crews had already been there. I have to imagine they have already cleared all of the bodies off of the scene. But to be honest with you, I don't think you'd be able to make them out anyway. Because there's really no part of this wreckage that I've been able to distinctly make out so far. What you see now is a camera perspective from the ground, as probably at least 50 people, 50 to 100, maybe more, have gathered there in this town in California to just kind of watch live at what's happening. It does look like there are 1 or 2 people just kind of watching over the scene up there in the mountains. The area is taped off, and it looks like those might be officials that are just kind of watching over the scene, making sure nobody comes close, just making sure no evidence is tampered with. But I believe emergency crews have already come through and removed the bodies. Rick Fox was not on board. I know he is trending on Twitter right now as being involved in this crash. Rick Fox was in no way involved in this crash. What you're seeing there is smoke billowing from the helicopter and people gathered to watch on the streets. A lot of them have been there as this whole thing has unfolded for the last couple of hours. I'm not getting any audio out of the feed that we've got here. I was going to share that with you if anybody was doing any reporting from the scene, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like we've pretty much got all the information on all the people that were involved. It was on the helicopter, Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, his 13-year-old daughter's basketball teammate, and one of that teammate's parents. They were headed out to go to one of her games when the helicopter went down in the mountains. Witnesses were saying on the scene that it looked like there was an engine failure. Looked like the engine was just off, as the helicopter fell out of the sky. You can only imagine what the final moments on that helicopter must have been as it just fell out of the sky into the mountains in California. So these pictures coming to you now out of KTLA in Los Angeles. They are live at the helicopter crash of superstar, a guy who transcended the NBA, Kobe Bryant. Just an unbelievable loss, not only to the sports community, but for so many people across the world. Kobe Bryant, just a guy who was completely idolized for his talents, for the level of respect he had throughout the game of basketball. A controversial guy at times, but a person that I think everybody knew at his core was a good guy and always probably wanted to do the right thing, no matter how it came across on social media and in the media and on the press and ESPN and all that. A guy you never really thought had ill will or terrible intentions behind his decisions, even if they did occasionally make headlines. But definitely a very, very sad day. I'm sure you can turn on plenty of sports channels now and see reactions from basketball players, just athletes probably all across the board, and sports commentators all across the board. Just unbelievable news. Something that I'm sure a lot of you, like me, when you got the text this morning, just absolutely didn't believe. But it is true. Kobe Bryant, his daughter, his daughter's friend, and his daughter's friend's parent were on the helicopter along with a pilot. As it crashed, there were no survivors. They were on their way to his daughter's basketball game. The other child on board was a teammate of Kobe Bryant's daughter. The pilot was on board, and then Kobe's daughter's teammate's parent was also on board the helicopter. All did die in this helicopter crash. You just never think something like this is going to happen to somebody like Kobe Bryant. A guy who's just an absolute legend, not only in the game of basketball, but well respected across the world. And on what was a pleasant Sunday leading up to this, we now have to talk about the unfortunate and untimely death of one of the NBA's all-time greats and one of the most iconic figures in sports ever. A guy that so many of us grew up with. Kobe Bryant confirmed dead along with his 13-year-old daughter in a helicopter crash today. This morning about 9:40 local time out in L.A. Looks like they're setting up for a press conference to possibly talk about this. See if we can get you some audio from that.
Anybody else from AT here besides me?
Hi,
I'm Aaron. Hi.
Stephanie.
We're waiting for another video journalist to bring the live feed in, so we may not be live. Did you hear that, Josh? Yeah. Cream one in there. Right now. Did you hear that, Josh? Did you hear that? What they say? One daughter. What? The daughter died. Yeah. You look at my original plane, I thought it was plane, I thought it's fluffy. They see it already. Hey guys, you want to back that podium up to the stairs? So we have everybody get shot? Back it up. Really fluffy. I don't know if they want to stand up helicopter. We're already taped down. You couldn't see here to there. That's right. 60 yards. Hand me the hand mic, please. Well, I left.
Yeah, you should definitely come to me because this is probably going to be delayed and I can give some color. They're still waiting on people to arrive, so I can talk about that. I doubt it starts at 2.
We're already taped Yeah. Excuse me, dear. Excuse us. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. So who needs to get it?
Yeah, they're getting everything ready right now.
Here, let me put a piece of tape on the back.
That's it. Hold on. Dan, can you get a mic check? Dan, mic check.
My dear, they didn't tell me they were sending you out here.
Oh, all right. Okay, so you're here too. You both covered it?
Well, I'll be having access to you.
But I just,
What's your phone there?